Welcome to another deep dive from Tech I Spy, the home of intelligent investing and sharp-eyed analysis of the tech companies shaping our future. If you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. We drop fresh insights every week, and our back catalog is packed with detailed SWOT analyses on some of the most compelling names in the market. Whether you're tuning in on YouTube or catching the podcast on the go, take a moment to explore our past episodes. You might just uncover your next investment before the mainstream catches on. Today, we're turning the spotlight on nLIGHT Inc., a company that isn't just making lasers, it's aiming them at the future of defense, manufacturing, and innovation itself. Let's get into it. nLIGHT Inc. stands quietly but firmly in one of the most technically demanding sectors of the global economy, commanding a significant reputation in the high-power laser space through a foundation of deep engineering capability, vertical integration, and strategic positioning in both industrial and defense markets. From the moment you begin to unpack what nLIGHT does, a picture emerges of a company that doesn't just manufacture lasers. It builds the tools that enable other industries to carve, weld, engrave, detect, and even defend. Its strength lies first in its technology. Unlike many companies that outsource core components, nLIGHT designs and manufactures its own semiconductor laser chips, creating the building blocks of its fiber and diode laser systems from the ground up. This degree of vertical integration is rare and immensely powerful. It grants the company not only greater control over quality and production timelines, but also superior protection of its intellectual property. Every laser product they ship is a tightly integrated system developed in-house, which means faster innovation cycles, tailored customer solutions, and an ability to push the boundaries of laser performance in ways off-the-shelf component assemblers simply cannot. Its product portfolio covers both semiconductor lasers and programmable fiber lasers, with performance levels and customizations that are hard to match. The programmable nature of their fiber lasers stands out in particular. They're not just boxes that emit light, but complex, adaptive tools that can be configured for high-precision tasks in industries like aerospace, shipbuilding, semiconductor manufacturing, and microfabrication. In the world of industrial manufacturing, where time, precision, and power density matter, having a laser that's serviceable and tunable to the customer's exact workflow isn't just a bonus, it's a necessity. And nLIGHT delivers that. But perhaps what differentiates nLIGHT most profoundly is its traction in defense and aerospace applications. The company has become one of a very small number of trusted US-based suppliers, contributing to next-generation directed energy weapon systems. This isn't science fiction. This is a multi-billion-dollar defense shift toward high-energy lasers capable of neutralizing threats from drones to missiles at the speed of light. nLIGHT's technology isn't just powering machine shops or chip fabs. It's helping prototype systems for national defense. Their recent expansion into multi-million-dollar Department of Defense contract signals that their lasers are not only powerful and precise, but reliable enough to be deployed in real-world scenarios that involve safety, tactical operations, and geopolitical leverage. Getting to that level of trust and validation isn't a marketing trick. It's the result of years of testing, certification, and quiet delivery. The company is also strengthened by its geographic positioning. Based in Camas, Washington, it benefits from being embedded in one of America's tech-forward corridors while also maintaining manufacturing ties across Europe and Asia. This international footprint allows it to serve a global customer base while still protecting sensitive operations domestically. The split between industrial and defense markets, roughly balanced over time, offers revenue diversification. One sector can buffer against short-term downturns in the other. When industrial manufacturing takes a hit, defense can compensate. When defense budgets waver or delay, commercial innovation keeps cash flowing. It's a sensible dual-track model that few companies manage effectively, yet nLIGHT appears to navigate this complexity with quiet competence. Then there's the team. While less headline-grabbing than some Silicon Valley outfits, nLIGHT's leadership comes steeped in technical and operational expertise. This is a company run by engineers who speak the language of photons and nanoseconds, who understand the practical limitations of thermodynamics and optical systems, and who can take an idea from lab to production without losing fidelity. That kind of competence becomes a competitive moat. Their ability to speak with both procurement officers at defense departments and automation engineers at major industrial OEMs means they are never stuck in a niche. They can sell to innovators and institutions alike. On the financial side, their investment in R&D remains significant as a percentage of revenue, suggesting a commitment to long-term relevance rather than just short-term wins. They are not afraid to invest in future capability, and that shows in their patents, their defense contracts, and their increasingly sophisticated product lines. Moreover, their proprietary beam combination and control systems used in high-energy laser applications offer not just incremental value, but differentiated technology that only a few competitors in the world can even claim to understand, let alone replicate. In essence, the strength of nLIGHT is not rooted in size or marketing muscle. It comes from being the company others turn to when precision, reliability, and control matter most when a customer needs light focused into a needle point of energy that can cut through steel, etch semiconductors, or protect lives from incoming threats. It is the kind of company that doesn't chase attention but earns it, steadily expanding its presence at the frontier of light-based technologies. Whether in a clean room etching silicon wafers, or on the battlefield in a beam control system built into an experimental defense platform, the fingerprints of nLIGHT's work are there, quiet, focused, and increasingly indispensable. Despite its impressive engineering and a foothold in both industrial and defense sectors, nLIGHT carries with it a cluster of weaknesses that could limit its growth, resilience, and visibility on the global stage. These weaknesses are not flaws in its technology per se, but rather vulnerabilities in its market dynamics, financial posture, customer concentration, and strategic reach. The most immediate and pressing concern is scale. nLIGHT remains a relatively small company, especially when compared to the giants. It often competes against indirectly companies like IPG Photonics, Coherent, Lockheed Martin, or Northrop Grumman. In the defense world, small firms face an uphill climb. Winning contracts is one thing, sustaining them and scaling up to meet the demands of full deployment is another. While nLIGHT has demonstrated the capability to build high-powered systems, questions remain about whether it has the operational scale, workforce, depth, and cash flow stability to deliver at the pace and consistency required by a major global defense rollout. Its industrial segment faces similar headwinds, although the company's programmable fiber lasers are powerful and innovative. Many potential customers still prefer to stick with large incumbents whose products are viewed as safer bets. This brand inertia, while not always logical, is common in industrial procurement, where downtime can cost millions and change carries risk. nLIGHT, despite its technical superiority in some categories, lacks the market dominance that would let it shape standards or influence buyer preferences. As a result, its growth in the industrial segment can be constrained by conservatism among large customers who opt for familiar names over technical elegance. Customer concentration presents another strategic fragility. A significant portion of nLIGHT's revenue has historically come from a limited number of large customers. This is particularly visible in defense contracts, where a delay, reduction, or cancellation by a government body or prime contractor can cause a noticeable ripple across the company's financials. The same can occur on the industrial side, especially in regions like China, where geopolitical tensions have already begun to erode some of nLIGHT's customer relationships. A disproportionate reliance on a few key accounts makes for choppy revenue visibility and complicates forward planning. There is also a question of exposure to cyclical downturns. The markets nLIGHT serves industrial fabrication, aerospace, semiconductor tooling, and defense are all subject to boom and bust cycles. When capital expenditure tightens, one of the first things companies cut is investment in high-spec equipment like lasers. Similarly, if government defense budgets shift priorities, contracts may slow down or be shelved. nLIGHT is somewhat insulated by its dual market approach, but not immune. Its relatively small and focused product line also means it lacks broader diversification into tangential markets, such as medical lasers or consumer electronics, which could provide cushioning in volatile times. From a financial standpoint, nLIGHT has struggled with profitability over extended periods. While the company continues to invest heavily in R&D, that investment comes at the cost of sustained margins. Its stock has also underperformed in recent years, which may deter new investors or limit access to fresh capital at favorable terms. The share price volatility reflects deeper uncertainties, namely, whether the company's transition from an advanced component manufacturer to a systems-level defense player can be achieved without overextending resources. Another technical weakness, paradoxically born of their strength in vertical integration, is inflexibility. When a company owns every part of its production stack, adapting to short-term changes in component pricing or shifts in supply chain availability becomes more complicated. Outsourcing offers agility, insourcing offers control. But control can become rigidity when economic conditions change suddenly, as they did during the pandemic and global semiconductor crunch. If raw material costs spike or a fabrication process needs urgent retooling, nLIGHT must absorb that internally rather than redirecting suppliers. Then there is the issue of visibility. nLIGHT is not a household name in the tech world, nor even widely recognized among investors. Despite being listed on the NASDAQ, it does not benefit from the kind of analyst coverage or media presence that drives investor interest and institutional momentum. Its marketing is focused, its reputation solid in niche technical circles, but the company lacks the storytelling firepower to make itself essential in the broader market imagination. This is not a fatal flaw, but it limits partnership opportunities, slows recruiting of top-tier talent, and delays recognition in circles that could accelerate its growth. In sum, nLIGHT is a company built around expertise, precision, and discipline, but one that must confront the strategic realities of limited scale, concentrated customers, modest financial flexibility, and relative obscurity. These weaknesses do not erase its strengths, but they do present very real barriers to becoming the dominant force it could otherwise be. To move beyond its current plateau, nLIGHT will need to either grow significantly organically or through acquisition or partner with larger forces in the defense or industrial ecosystem that can amplify its reach without diluting its core identity. there's a quiet but profound sense that nLIGHT Inc. is sitting on the edge of something bigger, an inflection point shaped not just by its technology, but by the shifting currents of global manufacturing, military innovation, and supply chain realignment. The opportunities in front of nLIGHT are not merely incremental, they represent structural shifts in how the world builds, defends, and engineers. And nLIGHT is unusually well positioned to move from niche supplier to essential enabler if it plays its cards right. The first and most obvious opportunity lies in the accelerating adoption of directed energy weapons by militaries worldwide. What was once the realm of prototype showcases and theoretical wargames is now becoming an active procurement pipeline. The US Department of Defense, in particular, has made it clear that high-energy lasers are no longer optional research curiosities, they are strategic priorities. Drones, hypersonic threats, and swarming low-cost autonomous systems have made conventional missile defenses expensive, slow, and unsustainable. Lasers, by contrast, promise low cost per shot, speed of light interception, and silent operation. nLIGHT's fiber amplifiers, beam control systems, and scalable architectures are already playing a role in prototype systems. But the real opportunity lies in being the company chosen when these prototypes become fielded platforms. If one or more of the laser systems it supports move to deployment stage, nLIGHT could see multi-year, multi-hundred million-dollar contracts that completely change its revenue base and market profile. Beyond defense, the reshoring of manufacturing and semiconductor capabilities in the United States and Europe opens up another major frontier. As companies seek to reduce reliance on Chinese supply chains and bring high-precision production back home, demand for domestically sourced laser systems for cutting, welding, marking, and additive manufacturing will rise. nLIGHT, with its US manufacturing base and vertically integrated model, is ideally positioned to serve this need. It offers not just the equipment, but also the support, customization, and supply chain transparency that governments and corporations increasingly demand in a more fragmented geopolitical landscape. In a world where trust is currency, nLIGHT can sell certainty as much as it sells photons. Additive manufacturing is another emerging sector where nLIGHT's technology may shine. High-powered, highly controllable fiber lasers are at the heart of advanced 3D printing systems used for metal parts in aerospace, automotive, and even biomedical applications. These machines don't just require light, they require tightly controlled, programmable lasers that can maintain power and coherence across complex builds. As metal additive manufacturing transitions from prototyping to production, there is room for a supplier that understands both the physics and the reliability requirements. nLIGHT is already working with partners in this space. But with the right product development and marketing push, it could become a standard bearer for laser-based additive systems. There's also the possibility of expanding into new market verticals entirely. For example, medical laser systems, although highly regulated, present an opportunity to leverage nLIGHT's precision, safety, and thermal control technologies. Lasers for ophthalmic surgery, dermatology, or tissue ablation require characteristics that nLIGHT systems already demonstrate, namely beam quality, stability, and safety controls. Entering these markets would require certification and channel development, but the margins can be high, and the brand transfer from defense and industrial reliability could carry weight in medical procurement. In terms of geography, further expansion into India and Southeast Asia offers untapped potential. These are regions investing heavily in domestic defense, infrastructure, and manufacturing capacity. As they move up the value chain, demand for precision laser equipment is growing, and governments increasingly want to buy from trusted, non-Chinese suppliers. nLIGHT could step in with a hybrid strategy, supplying equipment, training local teams, and partnering with integrators to become part of these countries' long-term industrial backbone. There's also the software side. nLIGHT's programmable lasers open the door to building layered software ecosystems around its hardware, something few of its competitors have done well. Imagine if, rather than simply selling a machine, nLIGHT offered a cloud-connected platform that allowed for real-time optimization, predictive maintenance, or even remote configuration. In an era where everything from tractors to turbines is being made smart, laser systems are due for the same transformation. This kind of value-added software stack could create recurring revenue, reduce customer churn, and make nLIGHT systems stickier and more defensible. On the investment side, renewed interest in defense technology, reshoring manufacturing, and critical supply chains has begun to filter into public markets. If nLIGHT can frame itself not just as a laser supplier, but as an enabler of strategic independence, investor interest could return in force. It may also attract the attention of larger firms looking to acquire specialized optics capabilities, a scenario that could result in either a strategic partnership or a full acquisition at a premium valuation. Finally, the broader philosophical opportunity cannot be overlooked. We are entering an era where light is no longer just a communication or measurement medium, it is becoming a tool of transformation and protection. Whether carving titanium for a next-generation aircraft, neutralizing an incoming threat, or printing parts in orbit, high-powered lasers are entering their golden age. And light has already earned a seat at the table. The opportunity now is to make itself indispensable, an invisible force behind the next wave of precision, protection, and possibility. The threats facing nLIGHT Inc. are not dramatic in the Hollywood sense, no villains in lab coats or death rays gone rogue, but they are real, structural, and quietly erosive if left unchecked. They emerge from the deep friction of geopolitics, technological arms races, investor impatience, and the cold logic of commoditization. For a company built on light, the shadows are quite tangible. One of the most immediate and inescapable threats is geopolitical instability, especially in relation to China. nLIGHT has historically earned a meaningful share of its revenue from Chinese customers in the industrial sector. But the political climate has changed. Escalating tensions between the United States and China over trade, intellectual property, and national security have made it harder for American tech firms to do reliable business in the region. Export restrictions on high-performance optical components, changing tariffs, and retaliatory regulatory pressures could reduce or eliminate market access altogether. Even without formal bans, Chinese firms are increasingly incentivized to build their own alternatives, substituting domestic components for foreign ones in order to achieve strategic independence. In that environment, nLIGHT becomes less of a preferred vendor and more of a temporary placeholder. The defense sector, while brimming with opportunity, carries its own set of unique threats. Government contracts are volatile by nature. They are subject to shifting political winds, budget cycles, and priorities that can be redefined with every new administration or geopolitical event. A single policy shift or budget reallocation can delay or cancel entire programs that may have taken years to cultivate. If the Department of Defense decides to pivot toward alternative directed energy technologies or to slow deployment in favor of traditional systems, nLIGHT's multi-year development efforts could stall or evaporate without commercial fallback. This concentration risk in defense is particularly sharp for a company that, while diversified, is still small enough that a few contracts moving in or out can tilt the entire financial year. Then there is the threat posed by competitors, especially those with deeper pockets, broader reach, and more robust brand recognition. Companies like IPG Photonics and Coherent have global sales channels, entrenched customer bases, and the ability to discount aggressively when necessary. If nLIGHT begins to win larger contracts or break into new markets, it may find itself in the crosshairs of well-established incumbents willing to defend territory through pricing, bundling, or partnership exclusivity. Even startups funded by government innovation programs or venture capital could pose a threat by bypassing traditional supply chains and deploying radically different approaches to beam control, thermal regulation, or power efficiency. In a space where innovation is constant and product cycles are long, being first doesn't guarantee survival. Being best, cheapest, and most scalable does. From a financial perspective, the biggest threat may be market perception itself. Investors have grown wary of companies that promise long-term technical potential but underdeliver on short-term results. If nLIGHT fails to deliver profitable quarters, or if growth appears lumpy and opaque, public markets may turn away. This can suppress the stock price, limit the company's ability to raise capital at favorable terms, and make it a target for activist investors or acquisition by firms looking to strip down operations. Worse still, negative earnings or shrinking margins could push talent out the door, especially in an industry where skilled engineers are in demand and can command higher compensation elsewhere. There is also a broader macroeconomic threat. High interest rates, slowed capital expenditure by manufacturers, and a cooling global economy would hurt the industrial side of the business. Companies may delay purchases of high-cost laser equipment or shift toward lower-tier solutions that prioritize affordability over performance if those budget-conscious buyers become the norm rather than the exception. nLIGHT could find its premium positioning working against it in terms of market accessibility. Technologically, the threat of obsolescence is real. The laser and optics industry is advancing quickly, and a breakthrough in materials science, chip-level integration, or quantum optics could render parts of nLIGHT's current product stack less relevant. The company invests heavily in R&D, which helps guard against this. But its relatively small size means it can't fund every promising avenue. If a competitor nails the next generation of scalable laser architecture or figures out a radically more efficient way to manage beam control at high power, nLIGHT might struggle to keep pace. Intellectual property theft remains a constant undercurrent of risk. Despite in-house production and supply chain control, any company manufacturing high-value technical components must be vigilant against reverse engineering, patent circumvention, or even insider leaks. As lasers become more integral to defense and security systems, the value of replicating or compromising those systems becomes even higher for bad actors or rival states. Finally, there is the creeping threat of commoditization. As laser technology matures, some customers begin to see the product as interchangeable a source of light with power ratings and duty cycles, rather than a differentiated mission-critical system. If the market shifts too far in that direction, nLIGHT may be forced to compete more on price and less on innovation. That would erode margins, blunt its technical advantages, and turn a deeply engineered product into a mere component in someone else's platform. Taken together, These threats don't signal doom, but they do demand vigilance. nLIGHT operates in a world where tomorrow's opportunity can turn into a strategic liability almost overnight. Its survival and growth depend not just on what it builds, but on how well it navigates the fog that surrounds the path ahead. Thanks for joining us for this episode of Tech I Spy, where we don't just follow the tech, we follow the signal behind the noise. If you found today's breakdown on nLIGHT Inc. useful, insightful, or just plain interesting, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what's coming next. We've got more detailed analyses, emerging tech spotlights, and investor-grade insights lined up for the weeks ahead. And if you haven't already, go back and explore our earlier episodes. They're just as sharp, just as thorough, and just as essential for anyone serious about understanding the tech sector. Until next time, keep your focus clear and your investments smarter.